I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, March the 3rd, brought to you in part by Ralgro. Guys, with these 5-weight stocker steers bringing up to and over $2 a pound almost everywhere, that's $1,000 or more, and the need for cheap gains and the dryness of the forage everywhere, all throughout the plains for sure, inputs are surging. We need to take advantage of any cheap gain that we can find. Ralgro implants deliver an extra 23 pounds for just $1.50. Visit ralgro.com or visit with your Merck Animal Health representative for more information. Cattle feeders cave, and you can't hardly blame them. They caved to lower prices on Wednesday, and they were pressured with the attractiveness of the basis, which is actually not quite as good as it was earlier in the week, but I mean it's getting later in the week and they got show lists to sell. But they basis jumped. They're also pressured by all the negativity that's going on all around. Your grains are surging to never seen before prices. But you know, I'd say all the time, finished fat cattle, market ready, slaughter cattle, ready to go to slaughter, have nothing to do with grains. Absolutely nothing. But every time the grains go up, it seems like it pulls your live cattle down too. Of course it's going to pull your feeder cattle down, but of course the fuel and the fertilizer and everything, this war going on over there in Russia and Ukraine there, I tell you what, it's getting uglier and uglier every day, and it doesn't look like it's going to let up. We're not sure who's going to win. And if Russia does completely take over the country, they're not just going to take over those couple of territories that kind of lean their way. They're wanting to take over the whole country. You know, what's that going to bring? Are they going to stop there? Do they want to go on? Is China going to look at them and say, hey, I think we'll take Taiwan back too? You know, we're not sure exactly what's going to happen here, but it's not good. None of it's any good. Our White House administration is got us strapped as far as producing our own oil and fuels, and that's just it's tearing everything up. I mean, everything that we use, eat, or wear comes to us by truck. It has to, and we got to haul cattle by truck. Everything's going up, but this deal is getting scarier and scarier all the time, and it doesn't look like it's going to let up. And dang it, if it doesn't hurt the cattle market, I don't think, or nobody else thinks, that all this war stuff going on is going to cause the people that have been eating steaks to stop eating steaks, or the people that have been eating hamburger or beef roast to stop eating them. No, we don't think that, but it's just the pressure from all the inputs and the consumers. They have to pay for that stuff too. Leaves them with less discretionary income, and they don't know exactly where they're going to spend their money, and everybody's just pulling back. This inflation is completely out of control, and you think, well, it should have inflation on beef too. Well, heck of it is. They've been suffering this ungodly inflation on it all through the COVID and everything. Of course, that was due to your packers gouging everything, and they're not helping us a whole lot. It seems like your cattle people are the ones that have to push to support and promote beef, and it ought to be the packers that are doing it. It's their product. We've talked about it a million times. We're not in the beef business. We're in the cattle business, but we have to spend our money to promote their product, and they're just concentrated on keeping their percentage of the protein that's sold, whether it's domestic or all over the world, and they don't really care where it comes from. They sure don't care about each individual rancher or cattle feeder, that's for sure. But we've got people that are coming out of the woodwork that are helping things, people that have the means to do it. I don't know if you guys saw here middle of the week the story about Richard Childress, the NASCAR owner there. And he was watching that and saw that Zelensky tell President Biden that he didn't need a ride, he needed more ammunition. Richard Childress says, well, I sat on the board of directors of Ammo Incorporated. He made a few phone calls, and they're sending 1 million rounds of ammunition to to the Ukraine. I don't know, I don't really have the judgment to know whether that's a lot. It sounds like a lot to me. But you know, that they're handing guns out to everybody that wants one in the Ukraine and telling them to point at the Russian soldiers, which I'm not even sure the Russian soldiers or hearts are in this deal. You hear stories about them giving up and getting frustrated, and you know, their heart isn't in it like the Ukrainian people's heart is in it. But I tell you what, Richard Childress, always heard a lot of good things about him. And you think, well, why is he such a good guy? Well, because he's a cattle guy at heart. When I was back east working for USDA, I had a good friend of mine, Todd Weichert, that bought cattle for him year-round, and he fed cattle in Kansas, and he had a purebred Angus farm there in North Carolina, and he would call up just out of the blue at the sale barn there and want to know what was going on with the cattle market. And you know, cattle people are pretty good people for the most part, and I think we can all agree with that. Let's talk about your board. On Wednesday, April live cattle futures were down 42 cents. They're oversold, I mean completely oversold, but yet they were down some more, down 42 cents at 140.10. June down 55 cents at 136.5. Now you go on your back months and they were down 37 nearby to as much as $1 higher on our far out front. So people do think that this is going to blow over eventually, and I mean, time heals everything, I guess, but gosh, we don't know what's going to happen between now and then. Feeder cattle, of course, they've been oversold big time due to this surge in grains. It was time for them to recoup a little of that, and they did recoup quite a bit of it on Wednesday. March feeder cattle were up 202 at 158.30. April was up $3.20 at 163. Back months were all up 2 1/4 to 275, and then mostly that was because your corn, and for the most part, wasn't any higher. You know, sitting nearly $7.50 a bushel. Gosh, who'd have thought it was going to get there? But on Wednesday session, it was down 3/4 cent, a big whoop there, but still settling at 7.39. We're just glad it wasn't up another 40 or 50. How about beans down 28 cents at 16.77.5, but not wheat, and that's what they raise over there in the Russia and Ukraine region. There's wheat, and you guys know how dry it is in the plains, and you know, wheat's got a right to be higher. Now, does it have the right to be nearly $11 a bushel? I don't know. You know, you can grow that stuff in a parking lot if you fertilize it and get a little timely rain. But Kansas City hard red winter wheat up 61.5 cents on Wednesday. Ouch. At 10.73.5 cents a bushel. How about your fat cattle trade? We did establish the trade on Wednesday, and it is indeed lower. We didn't know that it was going to be. Of course, your packers come out with lower bids early in the week, but your feeders were asking steady and higher prices, and the standoff didn't last very long because of all the negativity, like I talked about, and your basis that was dangling in front of your cattle feeders, and just you know, just so much pressure on it. But market's $2 to $3 lower. In the northern plains and the southern plains, even though there's a little gap in there, and the northern plains is trading at a slight premium. But Iowa 4,400 head confirmed on Wednesday at 142. Dress sales 224 to 225. Nebraska 9,600 head, 140 to 142, and 224 to 225 dressed. Kansas at 8,100 head, mostly 140 with a few up to 141, and Texas 3,800 head confirmed all at 140. So we hate to give that ground up right when we are at the mecca of tight market-ready supplies. I mean, they're as tight as they're going to get for a while. Now, we've got lighter numbers. We got lower cow numbers. Our cow numbers are getting scary low. Our calf crop is low. Well, we got a lot of cattle in the feedlot, a lot of them. And the stage at which they're going to be finished and done and market ready is coming up here early summer, you know, extreme late spring and early summer. So we've got to try to get some market position, because you see what kind of hunks they're going to take it back anytime they get a chance. But I guess this was not the week. Box beef cutout values continue a little bit lower, have yet to see that seasonal turnaround. Choice cuts 255.72 down 96 cents. Selects down 18 at 251.34. Your slaughter running at a really good pace, and Packers are doing what they can to step that up, and it's going as well as it's gone for a long time. 369,000 just up through the first 3 days. That was 15,000 more than last week, 7,000 more than the same week a year ago. We're still slaughtering a lot of cows, beef cows, and we have whittled and whittled and whittled on our cow herd to where we're going to be extremely light. If we ever get through all these black swans, and I'm counting this war as a black swan, we got a right to have some just crazy high cattle prices as we go on for the next 3 years. But who knows how many more black swans are going to show up. But these cows, they're still killing them. They still need them. This ground beef is selling well globally. The places where they slaughter those brush cattle, you know, those older cattle, there might be steers and heifers, but they're not that sweet meat like what we make. But a lot of those are ground up. They don't have very good numbers there because they've had horrible droughts over there, lifetime droughts. And so our cows are selling awfully well. At Joplin at the cow sale on Wednesday, they had an outstanding limousine bull, weighed 1,930 pounds, bring 134 for slaughter, guys, and high dressing cows up to 99 cents. Pretty darn good. If you guys have cows sitting around you need to get rid of, you might want to think about doing it. Not sure how much higher they can get. Let's talk about what else is going on. I told you guys how much that I think these LRPs are the deal for risk management. These livestock risk protection insurance policies, you know, you go out, you pick where you want to pick, you can lock them in. If you haven't went too crazy, you can still lock cattle in, stocker cattle and feeder cattle. You can still lock them in for a good profit, and you don't have to worry about margin calls and all that kind of thing. Don't have to square your loads up with your contracts. You just do whatever. But you can get a hold of Livestock Risk Services. Check out these agents that they have in Oklahoma and over in the edge of Arkansas too, but they're professionals at doing that. I also want to tell you guys about another piece of property. Who'd have thought the Feeder Flash was a place to advertise property for sale? But I tell you what, it's hard to get the word out on some of these ranches. How about a Texas ranch? 1,076 acres in Gray County, Texas. That's top of Texas, not North Texas over there north of Dallas, but top of Texas, excuse me, North Panhandle. But that's east of Pampa, Texas, up there close to the Oklahoma Panhandle border there. And it's right there at the highway split of 60 and 52. They got crop ground there, 440 acres of that's right in that split right there. If you guys kind of know where I'm talking, but there's a good crop ground in there. The balance of it, 636 acres, lays to the north of that, just across the next dirt road. There's an old home place there that was hit by a tornado years back. That needs cleaned up some, but there's a good well at the old home place. There's 360 to 370 acres of good crop ground that lays there at the home place. The rest of it is in native pasture, which you don't see that much of that anymore, guys. But the land sells with all of the minerals, the water, the wind rights, everything. And they're taking bids. You can submit a bid for that land, and the way you submit that is sending it to this email address, johnmcdowell55@gmail.com. If you have questions about the land, or you would like to get some more information on it, get some plats, or maybe go look at it or something, you can also email johnmcdowell55@gmail.com. Talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV Auction. Late in the day on Wednesday took a hell of a dip. Now Wednesday is one of our big feeder cattle days, and big in the southern plains, and I mean it took a dive. 156.60 based on an 800-pound steer up through the middle 12 states, and that's a 7-day moving average, guys. The steer tracker, which is the last 25 lots, on Wednesday evening was at 152.76 based on an 800-pound steer. I mean, they have took it off now. You can only brush off the sharply lower feeder cattle futures and the sharply higher grains for so long, and it's going to take a toll on your cash market, and absolutely has. But that 156.60 on your RTI Wednesday night was down $2.51 for the day. That is a big loss. And that RTI is brought to you by Margin Tracks by Midcon. Talk about your big sales on Wednesday. OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma. I mean, sharply lower, guys. I mean, they got all the buyers there. They're heavily supported by your corporate feeders. I mean, they got to go where the numbers are at, and they're there. Your smaller buyers are there. Northern buyers that go to farmer feeders are there. El Reno's got all the buying power you can get, and the market was sharply lower on feeder cattle because that's just the way it is. OKC West had 9,700 head for their Tuesday calf sale and Wednesday feeder sale. Feeder steers $2 to $6 lower. Feeder heifers $3 to $7 lower. Calves steady to $1 higher. But you know, most of these 8 and 9 weight feeder steers anymore, a lot of them are bringing in the 140s, guys. A lot of them just barely get into the 150s, where we've been kind of gauging them how close they were to 160. But that's kind of left us. We're missing out on the 150s, and a lot of them going down into the 140s. Don't forget, they got a big sale in Burwell, Nebraska on Friday, and they're going to have about 6,000 head of cattle, including a big consignment of 1,000 head Charolais Cross calves there. But that'll be a big showing there, and those cattle will do it all. How about Dodge City, Kansas, winter livestock on Wednesday, 6,250 head of cattle. Feeder steers steady to $5 lower. Feeder heifers $5 to $8 lower. Spots $10 lower. Your lightweight calves and your stocker cattle were $3 to $6 higher. It just doesn't make any sense. Well, it does make sense, but you just wonder, people got grass fever, but you know, when you got your lighter weights going one way and your feeders going the other, they're going to meet at some point. But how about some individual quotes all around the circuit? I don't get a chance to talk about your markets way out west very often, and they had an evening sale at Toppenish Livestock Market in Toppenish, Washington. It was on Tuesday evening, and being way out west there, it got really late here in the middle part of the country. But on Tuesday night, Tuesday evening, Toppenish Livestock Commission sold 81 head, 644-pound steers at $175, and that is a really good quote, being that far out of the mainstream. How about Stockman's Livestock Market in Yankton, South Dakota? We talk about their fat cattle sale all the time. They've got one of the best feeder cattle auctions around the country too, and in fact had the only loads of 8-weight steers that brought over 160. And check out this bunch, 169 head, weighed 803 at $167.50. Wow. How about Winfield Livestock Auction in Winfield, Kansas? 59 head, 659-pound steers at $186. Now, they'd had to have some stocker condition to them. How about a market out east that we don't get to talk about very often that sells load lots of cattle? I mean, they sell their onesie twosies, or mostly onesies, down in that part of the country, but those people are learning to add value to their cattle, keep them local, background them, sell yearlings, sell bigger strings. Hardin County Stockyards, Savannah, Tennessee. This is their load lots of steers that they sold. And they may not look that impressive to you. Guys, that's all they're bringing anywhere, especially in the southern plains too. I mean, maybe not in the sand hills of Nebraska, but that's all they're worth. Put $8 or $10 worth of wheels under those things and then see what they bring. But that's a hell of a good sale there at Hardin County Stockyards, Savannah, Tennessee. How about Creston, America? Creston Livestock Auction in Creston, Iowa sold 70 head, 784-pound steers at $167.75. Big time quote, but the best quote that I saw anywhere on Wednesday, your Ralgro top quote for the day, come out of Sidney, Montana Livestock Market Center. Look at this big long string. 371 head, 622-pound steers bring $199.25. That's your feeder flash for Thursday.